Dames en heren, een goedemorgen. Van harte welkom hier live vanuit Utrecht, vanuit het Beatrix Theater. Wat ongelooflijk leuk dat u bij ons bent gekomen. Van harte welkom bij het Travel Congress 2022. Ja, en we zouden natuurlijk met elkaar kunnen somberen vandaag. Dat gaan we niet doen, want we hadden natuurlijk met elkaar heel graag een fysieke vakantiebeurs willen houden. Dat had ook een geweldige opportunity kunnen zijn. Maar ja, we weten allemaal waardoor dat niet kan. En vandaag kijken we vooral wat er allemaal wel kan. En we hebben vandaag een werkelijk fantastisch programma. Wat wij gaan doen is praten over ons vak, over de sector, over de reissector. Want ja, COVID is niet alleen voor de reissector, maar voor heel veel industrieën echt een reset-button geweest. Een herstartknop. Kijk bijvoorbeeld naar digitalisering. Dat hebben we echt in een korte tijd, in 1, 2 jaar, hebben we sprongen gemaakt waarvan we dachten, nou, daar doen we 6, 7, 8 jaar over. Dus dat is hartstikke goed. Ik denk dat er nog andere dingen zijn gebeurd. We hebben onder andere gerealiseerd dat het leven wat wij leven best kwetsbaar kan zijn. Dus duurzaamheid is opeens iets geworden wat niet iets ver weg is, maar waar we met z'n allen ons meer zorgen over maken. En waar we met z'n allen, en dan heb ik het over burgers en overheden en bedrijfsleven, denken, hier moeten wij daadwerkelijk echt stappen in gaan zetten. Ander ding dat gebeurd is, heeft heel erg met vertrouwen te maken. De afgelopen tijd heeft natuurlijk de maatschappij behoorlijk onder hoogspanning gestaan. Er wordt leiderschap gevraagd. Niet alleen van de politiek leiders, die we gisteren allemaal geïnstalleerd hebben gezien, maar ook van u als leiders in het bedrijfsleven. Geef ons richting. Waar moeten wij vandaag precies heen met onze sector? Nou, daar, dames en heren, daar gaan wij het vandaag met u over hebben. 2022 wordt het jaar dat de reisbranche geherstart wordt en hoe herbouwen wij dat landschap met elkaar? En daar zitten interessante vragen in. Bijvoorbeeld, hoe moeten reisorganisaties en bestemmingen omgaan met het feit als we weer van 0 ineens naar 100 gaan? Vallen we dan meteen weer terug in de oude gewoontes? En is massatoerisme snel een feit? Of gaan we het op dit moment anders aanpakken? Is dit het moment om misschien wel het verschil te gaan maken? Gaan we anders met de manieren om waarop we aan het reizen zijn? Het beleven van bestemmingen. Welke harde noten moeten we daar allemaal over gaan kraken? Nou, daar, dames en heren, gaan wij het vandaag uitgebreid over hebben. Ik heb er heel veel zin in, want ik heb al gezien welke sprekers er allemaal zijn. En vandaag, dames en heren, gaan we er, om Ivonie te citeren, een unaniem belachelijk groot succes van maken. Dat kan alleen maar met de hulp van u en met de sprekers hier in de studio. Een paar dingen. U kunt met ons meepraten. Ik heb mijn laptop hier staan en op die laptop, als u rechtsonder in beeld live gesprek aanklikt en gewoon begint te tikken, dan kun je sowieso met elkaar chatten en ook met mij chatten. Dus mocht je vragen hebben voor alle sprekers, doe dat vooral, want dat vind ik leuk. En na iedere spreker hebben we tijd voor Q&A. Je kunt eigenlijk gedurende vandaag een heel programma bij elkaar sprokkelen. Wat natuurlijk ook wel heel erg leuk is om te doen. Dus we hebben een aantal breakout sessies. En je kunt zelfs, en dat is het voordeel van een digitaal congres, tussen de breakout sessies doorkijken van wat gebeurt er eigenlijk in dat andere digitale kamertje. Dus doe dat vooral. Kijk wat je het meest inspirerend vindt en bezoek die spreker- en breakout sessie. En maak zo je perfecte programma. Ik zou het ook wel leuk vinden, dames en heren, ja, we zitten hier toch de hele dag met elkaar, om op social media ook een beetje reuring te creëren. We hebben daar bedacht een hashtag en dat is Travel Congress met 2 S'en. Ik zit even te denken, misschien is het wel leuk, wacht even hoor, om op dit moment gezamenlijk even een selfie op Twitter te zetten, of Instagram of waar je ook zit, TikTok, maar allemaal niks uit, met de hashtag Travel Congress. En dan wil ik even zien hoe je werkplek er op dit moment uitziet. Dus hoe je er lekker bij ziet. Dan kan ik u meteen ook even laten zien hoe ik erbij zit. Wacht even hoor. Ik zal dat even proberen te doen. Kijk, daar bent u. Kijk, zo. Ik doe even een duim omhoog. Nou, die ga ik even posten. Met hashtag Travel Congress. Als u dat nou ook doet, dan hebben we een beetje een beeld van wie waar zit vandaag. Dan hebben we toch connectie met elkaar. Het is een Nederlandstalig congres met af en toe ook wat Engelstalige sprekers er tussendoor. Vonden we ook leuk, omdat we ook natuurlijk in de travel industry heel wat Engelstalige mensen hebben die dit kijken. Maar goed, een positieve show en daar gaan we nu mee beginnen. En we beginnen met inderdaad een Engelstalige bijdrage. We're rebuilding the sector. That is the thesis of this seminar and congress. And what do you need for that? What do you need for rebuilding something? Well, you need positivity, you need energy, and you need hope. Hope for a better life, for a better business, for a better world. And the thing is, what is that exactly, that small word of hope? Well, our next guest is going to dissect that word hope. How would you define it? Our next speaker is an expert in that. He's the writer of several books, the World Book of Happiness, and recently the World Book of Hope. If you have any questions for him during his speech, please ask them via the platform, and we will direct them to him after his speech. But first, let me introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Leo Bormans. Leo, you're in the studio. How are you today?
Hello, hello. I'm so glad to be in this studio and to see you there, Frank and Henk and Francis. You're all watching us and from your office or from your home. And we are taking you to the most important journey you can do in your life. It's a journey of your own life, your life of your clients, your colleagues, and how does that journey look like? I am a frequent traveler and I travel the world from Mexico to Bangkok, doing research on happiness and inspiring people on happiness and hope. This is what my life looked like. I was in Bhutan. Bhutan is that wonderful country with, where all ministers are ministers of happiness. They're focusing on gross national happiness and not only focusing on gross national product. How can we make life better, not only richer, but better for everyone? This is something going on in all parts of the world. I was with the Maasai in the Serengeti. I met the wonderful people of the Maasai. This has become my friend. He's one of the Maasai leaders. And he never loses the grip of his stick. He never loses the grip of his stick because the stick are his values. This is the most important thing I have, he says. This is my stick. This is my value. What is your value? What is your stick? If you would be a Maasai, what are your real values, the real priorities in your life? I was in Dubai. Dubai is this wonderful country where a lot of people go in travel industry. They appointed the Minister of Happiness. Well, she's got a lot of work to do because happiness is not only focusing on money. I was surprised that so many researchers in the happiness world and in the hope world are in fact economists. I thought economy was about money. Money, money, money. I learned that economy is not about money. Economy is about making choices. What kind of choices do you make? A daily life in the travel industry. What kind of choices do you make? Short-term, long-term? Durability, money, people. What are the choices you make? This is what economy is really about. And if I would show you a picture of life in 2060, there's no idea. It's a black screen. How did life look like in 2020? They asked this in 1980, so 40 years ago. That's not that long time ago. In 1980, the cover of an Italian magazine looked like this. 40 years ago, this was the cover of Life in 2020. This is how they predicted the world in 2020. In 1980, we were laughing at this cover, and now we say, wow, how accurate this is. How has life changed in these past weeks to this kind of life? We are living now like aliens, walking in streets that look like war zones. We are going to school in this kind of uniforms, and quite a lot of people feel unsure, feel confused, and feel lost. There is no reason to laugh at these feelings. It's it's really very hard for quite a lot of people in this world. They feel lonely, they feel confused, there's no one to talk to, and how does the future look like? There's no reason to go fast forward. This is what most people want now in travel industry and in the industry in the world. We go, let's move fast forward. This pandemic has to go away. Well, in fact, most people don't want to go fast forward. They want to go back. They want to rewind. We are going back like it was before. This is what life would look like it was. This strange feeling of nostalgia, how life was passing by, and let's rewind. You know, if we go back in time, I discover that my own grandparents were wearing a mouth mask. I did not know, I had never seen this picture, but they did. In the 1920s, they did. Well, do we want to go back to that time? How far do we want to go back in time? To the prehistorics? To the 60s? To the 70s? It is impossible to go back in time. No part in history has ever succeeded in going back in time. The only thing we can hope this pandemic has done with us is to push the pause button, to stress, go away, relieve, relax. Let's focus on the pause. This is an opportunity. We're not moving forward, we're not going back. Push the pause button, because the pencil is broken. We cannot change this. But there is some good news. When a pencil breaks, you can make 2 new pencils. Then these pencils can make a new story. We are writing a new story, 2 different news stories. Because people often tell me we are in a crisis. We are not in a crisis. What is a crisis? A crisis means we are in situation A, we are now in a crisis, and then we go back to situation A. This is impossible. We are not going back to situation A. We are not in a crisis. We are in times of permanent change. We are in situation A, we move to B, we move to C and D. This is what we are talking about. We are not in a crisis. How will future look like? How do we deal with these enormous changes that will never stop? We will be in permanent change. And in travel industry, you feel this immediately. How can we deal with this permanent change? I did research the past 20 years on hope, love, and happiness. And I asked the people and researchers from all over the world, what do we know, in fact, about happiness? What do we know about hope? And how can we influence our own life direction to a more hopeful or happy life? And I'm glad all these books have traveled the world. They have been translated in more than 20 languages, so I can travel together with my books and talking and inspiring people and talking to leaders all over the world on gross national happiness. And how can we promote this happiness? How can we include hope and happiness in daily life? So I was glad the European president has offered my book to all world leaders. Barack Obama, Merkel, Putin, they got the book. I don't know whether they read it, but I'm sure that they got it. If anyone tries to tell you he has found the secret of happiness, please do not believe him. It does not exist. There is no hidden magic formula about happiness. We will never find it. If someone tells you, I found the secret of happiness, don't believe him. It's a charlatan. There is nothing like that. But in the universal scientific research, we really find some quite important rules, quite important insights that can help us in creating the journey of our own life. And this is what travel industry, in fact, is doing, creating the journey of life of people. And our life is not like this. It's not a happy story all day long. If I give interviews in the world, it's always these kind of pictures accompanying the interviews, like people jumping in the air. Travel industry is very good in publishing this kind of pictures. Everybody knows happiness is not about this. It is not, we're not living in happy land all day long. There is some misery in the world, some sadness. We thought that sadness and happiness were two opposites. In fact, it's not true. They are part of life. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't go well. And this is what life is really important. We don't have to lie to people because people really know, and quite a lot of young people in this period of life are very, very sad, depressed. There is no way out. And we have to take these problems seriously. We're not talking about something like escapism, how to escape from real life, and traveling is not offering this kind of escape. I was very shocked about this research they did with people who are dying, people in hospital in palliative services. And they asked people, what would you do differently? If you had the opportunity to start your life again, what would you change if you had the opportunity to relive your life? Well, this is the top 5 of things people would change if they had the opportunity to restart their life. First thing is they said, well, I prefer I've lived more my own life. I would have preferred that I hadn't worked that very much. I would prefer a world in which I would show more my emotion. I would spend more time with my friends. And the last, on the top 5 of things that people want to change if they have the opportunity to relive their life is, I would allow more happiness in my life. Now, if people say these kind of things, when they watch death in the eyes, what can we learn from that? In fact, travel business, travel industry is focusing on these things. When you travel, you try to live your own life. You don't work that hard. You show your emotions. You share your emotions. You take the time for friends, and you allow some happiness in the world. We do not have to wait till we're dying to realize these things in our own lives. We can live the life we want. I'm not talking about this song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. I don't like that song. Don't worry, be happy. I made buttons saying, do worry, be happy. And this is something, a message we can use in our own life. Do worry. Something is going wrong. But that doesn't mean that we cannot be able to be happy in our life. And I'm not talking about this kind of happy hour. So some businesses do this kind of things. On Friday from 4 to 5, it's happy hour. The rest of the week is misery week, but we focus on happy hour. This is not what travel industry is about. This is not what life is about. It's not about creating a happy hour. It's about creating a durable feeling of happiness, of hope, of meaning in your life. Because when we focus on the research of happiness, there are 3 levels of happiness. The first level is the pleasant life. Of course, life can be pleasant, can be fun, but we are not living in Fun City. The second level of happiness is the engaged life. We want to do something. And you have seen that in travel industry, that people want some adventure, some experience, something to do in their life. They do not want to lie 2 weeks in the sun, just under the sun and doing nothing. And you realize that in your own life as well. Life can be fun, but it's not fun all day. And if I ask you, where do you find your own happiness? You will say, in the things I do, in my engagement. And this is the second level of happiness, engaged life. And the third level of happiness is the meaningful life. We want to do something meaningful, something that gives us opportunities, sense of life, something important in my life, meeting my priorities, the things I really think are important. If you can introduce these 3 levels of happiness in your own life, in the life of your colleagues, and in the life of the clients you're working for, then we can improve happiness for ourselves and for other people. The pleasant life, the engaged life, and the meaningful life. The most important word for the future will be meaning. Meaning. Quite a lot of people have been confronted in the past years with, what am I doing? I have a non-essential job. This is a non-essential thing I'm doing. People are asking themselves questions about what is essential, what is meaning for me. So talking about these things and reflecting on these things might show us a good direction in dealing with the problems we are confronted with. Can I ask you a question? If happiness is 100%, how many percentage is due to genetics? How many percentage is due to circumstances? And how many to the mindset? What do you think? What do you think? Genetics 10%, circumstances 70%, mindset 20%, something like that. The total has to be 100. What do you think? If happiness feeling for is something like 100. Well, happiness research discovered something very important. Of course, there are differences, but in general, we can say that our happiness is for 50% due to genetics. That means that's what you get from your parents, from your grandparents, you know, these families in which they are all the time complaining. Well, that you get from your parents. There are families always laughing and whistling. 10% of our happiness is due to circumstances. That's our job, the car, the garden, the kind of things we are focusing for whole day long. It only influences our happiness for 10%. 40% is left to the mindset, the way you look at things. Now, this is an important insight. We can change the mindset. We cannot change reality, but we can change the mindset. This suitcase is a suitcase of my father. My father was a small salesman in Belgium, and I was walking with him like a small child, and this is his suitcase. I take it with me wherever I go. If I tell you, this is the suitcase of my father, your mindset has changed. You cannot look at my suitcase anymore like you did before. I changed your mindset. And this is what travel industry is about, what educating is about, what good leadership is about. How do we look at reality? Reality does not exist. There is always an interface between me and the things I'm looking at. This interface, this framework is something we can change. We cannot change genetics. We are focusing on the circumstances, but the right focus is the mindset. And that's 40% of my happiness, so I can choose for that. I'll show you something. I'll show you a next slide, and your mindset to this thing has completely changed in 2 years. 2 years ago, when I showed this picture, you had a feeling of traveling, of happiness, of good feeling. And I show you the picture now. And you think, my God, this has changed my life dramatically. The beer has not changed. It's the same beer. But our mindset has changed dramatically. This is what we can use in both ways. We can use it in the negative way or in the positive way. You have the choice. How are you going to end your life? Like the old grumpy? Do you want to end your life like the old grumpy or like the smiling old man? If we live longer, and we all live longer, but we should live happier. And then there is a very important thing. If you want a long and happy life, there is one medical advice that is the strongest advice to become a happy old man or a happy old woman. A positive lifestyle. The positive lifestyle influences all of our domains in life. Now, let's do a small experiment. You're there behind your computer and you're watching this show, and I ask you something. Please start smiling. Put up your lips. Yes, Frank, Hank, yeah, going. Yes, Pascal, you're doing very well. Smiling. I ask you, keep on smiling for 30 seconds. Just for 30 seconds, keep on smiling. Now think about something negative. Keep on smiling. Think about something negative. Keep on smiling. Think about something negative. Most of you, 80% of the people, are not able to focus on something negative while they are smiling. I'm not asking you to run around like a clown for the rest of your life. I'm asking you. What this experiment shows, it shows me that my body can give some direction to my mind. If I'm smiling, it's very hard to think about negative things. This is a good experiment to show that positive lifestyle is something you can use in your daily life. In fact, if I have to reduce the research on happiness in two insights, there are red buttons in society and green buttons in society. The red buttons are the pessimists, the green buttons are the optimists. You have the choice. If I'm talking to you for 3 minutes, I know whether you're a red button or a green button. I know. I just need to talk to you in 3 minutes. I know whether you're an optimist or a pessimist. Shall I teach you? You just have to watch 3 things. The red buttons are only talking about themselves, about the past, and about problems. The green buttons are talking about others, about the future, and about solutions. That's the difference. Whether I'm focusing on I and me or on we, whether I'm focusing on the past or focusing on the future, whether I'm focusing on the problems or focusing on the solutions. This is a choice we have. This is the mindset you can take in your life, in your job, in your relationship with people. If I asked one of these professors in doing research on happiness to summarize everything he knows in 1,000 words. And he said, well, this is impossible. I cannot. I did write 20 books on happiness, and you ask me to summarize this in 1,000 words. It's impossible. And I thought, oh, what a problem. And 2 weeks later, he sent me a message and said, your question has triggered me. And I started scratching, and I succeeded summarizing everything we know about happiness in 2 words. Wow. In 2 words? Yes, we can. Now you're waiting for these 2 words. Here they come. We can reduce everything we know about happiness in these 2 words. Other people. Whole society is focusing on the wrong direction. They are focusing on my things. They make us believe that happiness is about me and it's about material things. It's not true. And you know in your daily life that happiness is about other people. It's not about me, it's about someone else. It's not about things, it's about people. And we are all other people for other people. This is what we have missed. This is what we have not missed, all these things. My house is full of things. I have 20 pairs of shoes and I'm not allowed to go out walking. So what can I do with all my shoes? I miss the people. And they made us believe that the most important thing we had to gather in life was the capital, the money. And we have found out, and we did that, in long research and scientific research on happiness, it's not about the capital. It's about the social capital. It's about the quality of our friends, the relationship with our neighbors, with our colleagues, with our family, the people we meet. And the most important thing, and your bank will tell you that if you have a capital, you have to spread things into diversity. Same thing for social capital. The more diverse your capital, your social capital is, how do your friends look like? Do they look like you, or are they something different? Well, diversity is a strength. It's an enormous strength to surround you with people that do not look like you. Have different color, different age, different gender, different opinion, different religion. If you invest in a diverse social company, social capital, this will make you more and durable happy. And this is what travel industry can offer us. To meet people from all over the world, to meet them and to take them into our social capital. I was in Beirut, in Lebanon, when talking to 300 students in positive psychology in a war situation. And I thought, my God, what do I have to talk to them about happiness? And they teach me a wonderful lesson. Because the worst inspiration for happiness is fear. If you're afraid, you don't move. And if you are in a war situation, you cannot be driven by fear, because then you do not go anywhere. Do you know the opposite of fear? The opposite of fear is hope. And I didn't know anything about hope. So I did the research on all over the world. There are more than 300 scientists discovering the pillars of a hopeful life. And also these books have been translated and traveling all over the world. I was very happy that Nobel Prize winner Kofi Annan has written the introduction of the World Book of Hope. And I asked him, what kind of guy were you when you were 10 years old? And he watched me in the eyes and he said, do you really think that when I was 10 years old, living in that small village in Ghana, that I thought that I would win the Nobel Prize? No, I did not think that. But I always watched the stars and I knew there is something bigger in life than my small village. You travel the world, he said. Please do not ask people what are their talents. Do not ask people what are their shortcomings. Ask people what are their dreams and dream big. Do you know the dreams of your partner, of your children, of your colleagues? Do you know the dreams of your clients? Do you know the dreams of people who want to be happy and hopeful? Do you talk about dreaming? Do you really talk and invest in dreaming? Well, dream big. And I asked him, how do you change a dream into a goal? That's not that difficult, he said. You just have to add a verb. You have to come into action. When you add a verb, an action to a dream, you get a goal. And this is a really important thing in all the research on hopeful thinking. Go from imagination to action. This is something we can use in travel industry. How to create imagination. How to use this enormous source of imagination in people and bring them into action. It all starts with positive self-talk. What do you tell yourself in the morning? Well, I was this morning in my hotel and I said, my God, how do I look like? And then I arrived in this studio and there was the visagists and they have changed my face, but I was so glad to be in their hands and I said, well, great guy I am. I'm looking great. And this visagist said, you're not an old man, you look good looking. I want to get up every morning with this kind of feeling to say, I'm good looking, I'm traveling around, I'm going to meet people. But how many people start their day with an idea of, I'm a loser. I'm a loser. I'm too fat. I don't have energy. I have no friends. This is an image we give to other people, we give to ourselves. Start with some positive self-talk. And in fact, there are no people without hope. There are people with less hope or people with more hope. But the high hope people have always more success in the world. They are happier. They have more realizations. They have better friends. So high hope managers, high hope employees, high hope organizations lead to better attitudes and to better performance. And how do you recognize hopeful people? Well, hopeful people have three important characteristics. Hopeful people set goals, they find pathways to realize these goals, and they become agents of their own life. Some people think they are victims of life. Take your ownership, take your agency, take your responsibility, and set goals. Big goals, and divide them in small steps. And find pathways. There are different pathways to realize your goals. And of course, we're living in a high-risk society. We will not be able to change this. And the future will be more high-risk than ever. And of course, there is doubt whether we can realize this. When there is no doubt, there's no reason to be hopeful. Hope and doubt are family. And we think the really important thing of looking at life is not life like a white thing or a black thing. It is black and white. It's yin and yang. In the white part of life, there is something bad. And in the bad part of life, there is something good. This is what the symbol yin and yang means. This is the dynamic evolution of what real life is. Real life is not 100% fun for the rest of our life. It's not 100% sadness. It is in between. It's this black and white together. This is what real life is about. What's the response, people ask me? What's the response? How do we respond to this situation? Well, there are some ways not to do. Some people are hiding. No, they're just hiding. It's the life of an ostrich. The best response is hidden in that one word. In that one word, it's responsibility. Het antwoord zit in verantwoordelijkheid. The answer is in responsibility. That's a verb. That's an ability. That's something you can learn. It's an ability to respond. You have this situation in travel, in society, and how do we respond? That's your responsibility. Things will not change by a magic stick. The future is now. And of course there will be obstacles. Of course there is an obstacle always and always again. We will not create a world without obstacles. But hopeful people always find ways to deal with these obstacles. There are different pathways to realize your goal. It's always a combination of willpower and way power. If you want something, you find ways to realize the things you want, your goals. People ask me, what is the difference between hope and optimism? Well, hope is optimism with sleeves rolled up. L'espoir, c'est l'optimisme avec les manches retroussées. Hope is optimisme met opgestroopte mouwen. I have to say this in all these languages, but this is what it's really about. Hope is optimism with sleeves rolled up. You come into action. And if you want to come into action, you need this fuel, this energy that's given by hope. And hope is a choice. You can learn it. And it works like a virus. It's very infectious. If you want to become an optimist, surround yourself with optimists. If you want to be a pessimist, surround yourself with pessimists. If I can give you one small advice, please change your business card. Do not tell anyone anymore that you're working in the travel industry. Just make yourself believe and introduce yourself as a provider of hope. What you are doing, in fact, is creating life in your own life for the people you're working with as a provider of hope. You give people hope. How do we give people hope? How do we give people hope? What are the keys of giving ourselves hope and our colleagues and the people we're working with? My recent book is called Hoptimism. It's 100 keys on how to create a more hopeful life. I'm not going to bother you with 100 keys today. I'll give you 5 of them. The first of them is set goals and share these goals with others. Even if in these hard times for travel industry, you can imagine new goals, starting from a big dream and filling it up with small steps. What are your goals? And share them with your family, with your colleagues, with your clients. What are your goals? The second key for hopeful people is focusing on what you want. Please do not focus on what you don't want. Quite a lot of people focus on the wrong things. They know what they do not want. Please focus on what you really want, on what gives you meaning in your life, what is really important, what is the new priorities you're choosing for. The third key I can offer you is to accept things that you cannot change. We have to live with certain realities we cannot change. And the best thing, and the thing that hopeful people do, even if they are confronted with cancer or divorce or a pandemic, we accept. And we try to control these things that are under our control. The things you cannot change, we accept. The things we can change, we take into control. This is what hopeful people do. They're not focusing on the external circumstances that they cannot change. I've got cancer. There is this bad weather. But I can take an umbrella. This is my responsibility. I can focus on my internal motivation instead of focusing on the external factors that are influencing my life. And this is what hopeful people do. Not focusing on the external things, but on the internal things. So what is in my own hands? And the fourth key I can offer you is, please, believe in change. This is the focus of this conference today. Let's rebuild. Let's build a new world, new ideas. If you don't believe in change, you don't have to take part in this congress. You can go home. You can switch off. You can switch off your computer. People in travel industry, people in schools, in hospitals, they believe in change. Every caterpillar will become a butterfly. That's what it is about. If you believe in change, really believe in change, you can be the change. The change in your own life, the change in the life of your colleagues, of your family. And the fifth key I want to offer you is please stimulate imagination. Imagination is the strongest power of humankind. Animals don't have imagination. People do. And we have always been taught in schools that human beings are a combination of body and mind. A healthy body, a healthy mind, and that's the combination. Well, we discovered there is something more important. It's important for body and mind, and that is the stories we share. The stories of self-talk in our life, the stories of imagination, of how can we rebuild, or how can we build and change things. I can imagine lots of things. And that is the great treasure in our own hands. This is the real treasure. The most important book in our life is this book. It is giving the light insight. It's full of my drama, it's full of my past, of my history, it's full of sadness, it's full of hope. It's full of dreams and imaginations. The pages are still white, but the light comes from the inside, not from the outside. This is what we can do in our own life. Creating and writing the story of our own book and trying to read the book of other people by using positive imagination, by using emotion, by sharing things, by really taking care of each other. And we can go further and further and further. This is what you can do. This is what travel industry can offer, what education can offer, what we can do with ourselves and with our family. Give people a story of past and future, a story of sadness and happiness, of yin and yang, of things that are going well and things that are not going well. We are writing this book. And in my book, in my memory, in my stories are so many travels I made in my life, but the most important journey in life is the life we live, daily life, the things that are really important and other priorities in life. We are not looking for that in external things. It's from the internal. I was really shocked. I was really shocked by this research that has discovered how many containers we need for all the virus of COVID-19 and all these Greek letters following it, from Alpha to Delta and Omicron. How many containers do we need to put all this virus of the whole world into these containers? How many containers do you think we need for the whole volume? I was surprised about the answer, because all the virus in the whole world, this COVID-19, is not bigger than a teaspoon. It's not bigger than a teaspoon. This is what the virus has done. This is just this small drip that has changed the whole thing. Well, I think this is the good news. If one small drop like this can change everything into the negative, we can use that in a positive way as well. And we can make that difference. This small drip that will change everything. And everybody is on travel. Everybody is making a journey. And what is your journey of your life? I'm taking my suitcase, and you have your own suitcase. In your suitcase, in most of the people's suitcase, there is some sadness, some problems, some trauma. But there are some balloons as well. And if travel industry can do something, please give people their suitcase and add some balloons. I'm not talking about this kind of balloons or that kind of balloons. Too big, they will explode. I'm talking about this kind of balloon. If you in the travel industry can give the people the kind of feeling of an air balloon, of going up in the sky, you need some energy. You need passion, you need oxygen, and you go. You go with other people, and you dream. You dream, and you dream big. This is what travel industry can offer when we are building or rebuilding a new future. But how does the future look like? What will be that kind of future? We don't know. But we know from the happiness and hope research something that can give us a direction. The future will be hybrid. It is a question of and. It's not a question of compromise. It's a question of and. And these are the most important ands for the future I will want to share with you. The future will be a future of help, I don't know, and hope. The two things together. We should calm down, we give people answers, and we give people hope. It's a question of yin and yang. It's the good and the bad. Together, it's a dynamic of life. It's a question of beware and believe. Please, beware. Be very careful. And believe in change. Believe in the future. The combination of the two. It's a question of restoring and rebuilding. Let's restore what was good in the past, but not everything in the past was good. Let's rebuild a new society, a new dream, a new imagination. Start from this book of imagination. And let's go for interaction and give time and place for isolation. Quite a lot of people are looking forward to meet other people because that's the basic thing of happiness. But quite a lot of people are looking for rest, for quietness, for solitude, for isolation. Travel industry can offer both. Take care of people. Take care that people can go into interaction and give them the opportunity to isolate, to be on themselves, to focus on the priorities of silence they need in this stressful world. It's a combination of doubt and dare. Of course, we need doubt when we want to be hopeful. The future is unpredictable, but the future will be on the hopeful people, on those who take the initiative and who dare. You can remember all these words and because they form the word hybrid. And hybrid will be not only the future for cars and education or work, but for all our life and travel industry included. Let's help people and give them hope. Let's focus on the yin and the yang. Let's go for care, beware, and believe. Restore the good things, build a new future. Go for a hopeful life. And they make us believe we are in the same boat. Well, that's not true. We are not in the same boat. You are not in my boat. We are not in the same boat. We are in the same storm. But that's quite different, because when you know this, that we are in the same storm, you can choose what kind of captain you are. Because there are wise captains and there are stupid captains. The stupid captains focus on the waves, but the waves are dangerous and they change all the time. First wave, second wave, fourth wave, sixth wave. The stupid captain looks down. I would prefer my life to be a wise captain. The wise captain doesn't look down, the wise captain looks up. He looks at the stars, because the stars are steady and they give direction. I can choose my way, I can choose my priorities. We are not in the same boat, we are in the same storm. And I can be the captain of how I choose my boat. If I focus on the waves, or if I focus on the stars. We are in the journey of our life. We all carry our suitcase, and I told you this is a suitcase of my father. He gave me something very important in life. We all need. It's a telescope. This telescope has changed my life dramatically, and the telescope has changed the life of people all over the world dramatically. Because before we had a telescope, we had to watch all stars together. But a telescope gives us the opportunity to focus. A pessimist focuses on all the things that might go wrong on the horizon, and paralyzed by fear, he does not come into action. An optimist focuses on all the solutions and all the adventures waiting at the horizon, and he discovers the enormous capacity of a telescope that you can turn this around. And that something that might seem a big problem probably is a small problem. It's the way you look at things. For a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. For a man with a telescope, everything looks like something that can be seen from a new perspective. And this is what hopeful people do on the journey of their life. They go for real happiness. They go for real life, for new priorities in life. And this is what this conference is about building a new world, rebuilding a new business. And that means that we have to rebuild and reshape our own life. It starts with us. If we focus on the happiness and the hope of other people, it starts with us. It starts with the book you are writing yourself every day. It's blank for the moment. But which kind of memories are you going to add? Which kind of new ideas you're going to add? And who's going to write this book together with you? And how are we going to help each other to write a hopeful story and a happy story? This is not something to be naive. We are not naive. We are not realists. We are not optimists. We are no pessimists. We are possibilists. And possibilism is a combination of belief and behavior. If you believe things will turn out well, you start behaving like this. If you believe things will turn out wrong, you start behaving like that. I want you to become a provider of hope for all the people around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, and all the people we're working for in this wonderful world driven by imagination, travel, meeting other people. Wish you all the best today and the rest of your life. See you somewhere on the journey of your own life.
Yes, thank you very much, Leo. It was great having you in the show. If people want to ask questions to Leo, please do that via the chat. I've written down some questions for you, Leo.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because the travel industry, after such a hopeful and positive story, I wouldn't rather use the word, but I'm going to do it anyway. Of course, there's trauma there because everything stopped. So, and you had the example with the pencils. How do you grow after such a trauma?
Well, there is some research on this that people have. There is something like post-traumatic growth. It's not only post-traumatic stress people can have when they have cancer or when they survive some dangerous thing in their life, when you lose your job or you get a divorce, someone commits suicide in your family. There is something like post-traumatic growth. We have to believe in that. Of course, you don't want negative things in your life, but if you believe there is some growth possible, we see that happiness and hope is going down, but after some period, there is when hopeful people realize that after some time, they can grow. They can find out, well, now I know what's really important in my life. Mm-hmm. I've discovered some abilities that I did not know that I had. I have met people that I would never have met before. Now I know what's really important, who my real friends are. I found out what I really want in life. There is something like post-traumatic growth, and that's not that stupid. We did find that in research in which they put people in a quarantine long before the pandemic, and they found out that people, even when they were for 500 days in a small group in quarantine, that they could grow, that they find out that there is some social growth. If you get in touch, do not lose the grip and the touch with other people. Okay. There are now people who are very lonely. They are somewhere working on their own. They're not meeting other people. Please be very careful for these people. Get in touch with them. Look them up. Take your phone today. For those people you have not seen today or the last weeks, you have not heard them, please call them, because some people are dying now in solitude. And the only possibility to grow is contact with other people. We need other people for our personal growth. We had forgotten this. We thought it was all about going to conferences and following workshops, but we need other people for some growth. And so this post-traumatic growth is really possible after this pandemic, after this COVID tragedy, but we will need to get in touch with each other.
Okay, I have another question coming in. Well, lots of compliments coming in as well, Leo, to your direction. Ingun and Gerda, they really think it's a very inspiring start of the day, so you can take that home with you. So actually what you're saying is is hope and happiness is all got to do with other people, right? And you also said, well, travel industry give people a suitcase and some balloons. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? On what would that mean concretely for the travel business, for the travel industry?
Creating an opportunity for people to have an experience, to have to realize some dreams, to follow their imagination, to add things in traveling that gives us some insight and some
But what
outside.
would that be different than we've been doing before?
Well, the travel industry is broad. There is quite a lot of difference in that, but quite a lot of people just focusing on one thing. You can go and relax in Dubai. That's one thing. Well, we will need the hybrid way of watching things. It's not only the fun of shopping, it's also the rest of doing nothing, but it's a combination. People will be hybrid in future. They are not focusing on one thing. Let's go for the sunshine on a desperate island. And some people are just not focusing on the adventure of climbing the Himalayas. But it's a combination. And we can focus on this combination. It's yin and yang in the future. It will be the hybrid way.
Right. So I think a lot of people that are watching this conference are in leadership positions. And we're rebuilding the travel industry. We're rebuilding our industry, or our businesses as well, of course. What would your advice be to leaders to lead that change, and so to be hopeful without being naive? Could you elaborate?
That's the real challenge.
Yeah.
Not to be the naive one and the stupid one. But in all the research of happiness and hope, there are no stupid people involved. These are the successful ones. The successful ones are just the hopeful ones without being naive. It is about leadership that takes care of the whole person you're working with, and not only with this person that's doing a job from 8 to 5 or doing some secretary work. It's the whole person. We are moving from to something like not human resources, but human being. We are not human resources, we are human beings.
That's you put it really right. Thank you, Leo.
Have a great day.
And on behalf of everybody, thank you for such an energetic kickstart of our day. Ja, dames en heren, wij gaan nu door naar het volgende onderdeel. En ik ga u uitleggen hoe dat allemaal werkt. Wij gaan richting de eerste breakout. Die gaat beginnen over een kwartiertje. En ik zal u uitleggen, want u moet een keuze maken. Dus dat vinden we heel fijn. Hier in de studio, dan gaan wij luisteren naar een talk van Daan Domen en een commando, Richard, over een 4-daagse werkweek, over het werken in kleine teams en hoe die allerlei dingen voor elkaar kunnen krijgen zonder die enorme hiërarchische hark boven je. Interessant, denk ik, ook voor mensen die bij grote bedrijven werken. Om eens even te kijken, kunnen wij het misschien anders inrichten? Track 1 hebben wij Corné Hogendoorn en hij praat over marketing. Want daar zitten we natuurlijk met z'n allen ook enorm in. We gaan van 100 naar 0 en nu weer terug naar 100. Waarschijnlijk als het in 2022 allemaal heropgestart wordt. Welke learnings nemen we dan mee? Gaat Corné Hogendoorn over praten. En in track 2 kun je luisteren naar Mark Frederiks over de transitie in food en de transitie in travel en hoe dat elkaar kan versterken. En, want hij zegt, ja, we zijn echt op zoek naar een systeemoplossing. Dus dat gaat over grote veranderingen waar we met z'n allen voor staan. Je kunt zelf in het platform kiezen. En dat kan dus over een kwartiertje. En dan kun je naar een bepaalde track toe. Ik zag op Twitter al mensen die lekker met hun homebrew koffie zaten te kijken voor het scherm. Ik zou willen zeggen, daar heb ik ook nu heel erg veel zin in. Neem er vooral eentje en dan zien we elkaar over een kwartiertje, 11:15. Dus weer terug, 14 minuten alweer. Tot zo.